I want to say,
Besides-
Ray, I'm sorry. I hope you find another podcast to fill your life with joy.
My last words would be, Ray, if you're listening, I get it. Hey, I'm always looking for somebody to talk to. Number two, Happy Hour News Team, I'm there for you on Thursday nights. I'm having a rough day, let me tell you. So anyway.
So everyone who listens to our show and might be sad we're leaving, listen to Happy Hour News Team. They're still going.
Thank you very much for this very interesting journey that has happened for the last nearly 2.5 years. We appreciate you the most, and that's why we mention Happy Hour News Team the most, because they were the most giving and caring of all of our listeners and viewers, regardless of Greg's siblings. We do appreciate everybody who did listen. We're still surprised the fact that there were more than 2 out there who did. I want to thank all of the people from a couple of years ago in the Far East and in third world countries that put all the fake reviews on for us and made us in the top 2% of podcasts in the world. I want to thank Greg and Brendan very, very much for putting up with me through this entire time. I want to thank TikTok for banning us a couple of times because that made a couple of interesting episodes. I want to thank all of our guests that we've ever had, regardless of Brendan and Greg's horrible, horrible rudeness towards you if you weren't what they were, their cup of tea. I appreciated you at the very least. I want to thank the publicists who gave us guests, who gave us people to talk to. Really appreciate you guys. I have no idea what the future holds for any of us.
You will never hear us again. That's the end of the show. This is the last one.
Regardless, I want to thank everybody again very much for having listened to us all this time. And that is the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. We're signing out.
Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
You two, you begin the episode however you choose to begin it. This is just to preface it for everybody coming in. This is the last episode of the Law Offices Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, unless we have a hair up our ass somewhere down the future and we decide to do another one. But for now, it's done. So, Brendan, Greg, say your pieces.
I'm just gonna say dun 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm just going to say this. I was always kind of a studio musician in this 3-piece, in that you guys started the band and then decided, we could use a bass player. And I came along and I just kind of stood around. Suddenly you guys had side projects. Greg's doing a comic book podcast. You're doing some crazy sci-fi YouTube channel. And I just went, man, this has a very eerie, familiar feeling to it. And so here we are.
Well, the sci-fi news channel didn't happen until like a month ago. So, I mean,
I know. I'm just saying.
Like 2 years
I'm just saying. You start. I don't know. I just was just getting a vibe.
You're blossoming, Matt, and he doesn't want to get in the way of your blossoming.
I don't want to get in the. I don't want to get in the way of either one of you guys. I'm just gonna. I have some other podcasts that say, "Could you be our third guy?" And I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
Really, are they clamoring for you when this is all over? There's like the offers are rolling in for you, Brendan.
They were thinking three bears, one cave might be a good idea. There's a few.
I heard that Happy Hour News Team was headhunting you to be a third member.
I think they would if I was still in Florida. I could have been a Florida correspondent, but I don't think they have any interest in Portland.
There's a new Florida Man headline that happened yesterday. Florida man makes announcement. He's running for president. Did you hear that?
Nah. Well, I mean, I heard that he's running for president. I don't think of him as a
Florida man.
He is, but technically he's a New Yorker. Come on.
Well, no, he's embraced Florida, and Florida's embraced him, although DeSantis hasn't quite.
I was going to say the dictator over there is not real happy to have him there, so I don't know. He might put him on a plane with the next batch of homeless people to.
I think DeSantis is happy to have Trump because that gives people something to compare him to.
Yeah, he's not that bad compared to that guy.
I'm not Trump. Come on.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Because the winds are definitely turning against Trump. But anyway,
have you guys seen the Mike Pence interview?
I saw part of it. But
Pretty
that's
intense.
not what this episode's about. Episode
give a
isn't
shit.
about it. This episode is about the death of the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, the demise and the reason for that. And basically, it comes down to Brendan and I are bullies, and we've affected negatively Greg's mental health, and he can't take it anymore. And that's really why this is all ending, because he's a fragile, fragile man, and
I'm a hothouse flower.
his relatives have beaten him down into submission and stated that he should not hang out with us anymore because we are ruining him mentally and
My
socially.
relatives are the only ones who listen to the show. Even my ex-brother-in-law is a religious listener.
Uh-huh.
He
Either
loves
way, well, these are things that came out when you were much drunker and don't remember.
No, I
that
remember, but
you
really
gave
the
the
reason-
truth. Oh, sorry, I forgot. You remember everything that happens when
No,
you're drunk.
no,
Everything
I
in
don't. I'm just
full
saying,
photographic
I just know
detail.
what I felt
You
for a
remember
year.
it all with very
I'm saying-
specific information.
I'm saying
There's no way
remember-
you ever get anything wrong when you're incredibly
No, of
blackout
course
drunk.
I do. And there's no way you ever get anything wrong when you're sober.
I get things wrong all the time.
There you go. We're on
Constantly.
the same. But I'm saying
We're on the same screen.
I'm not guaranteeing that I could write verbatim what I said the other night when I was drunk last Wednesday after the last podcast. But I could tell you how I felt for a year, and how I've wanted to extricate myself, at least for a little time, from the show.
Yeah.
And it never got around to it.
Yeah.
But I finally was just like, no. And I think Brendan feels the same way.
He feels the same way as you. He doesn't have the same issues as you.
No,
I have different issues.
It's really not the bullying. I think that's good comedy when you guys pick on me. I mean, that's our shtick.
Uh-huh. So what's the real deal then, Greg? What's the truth, Greg?
It's not that fun anymore.
Yeah.
I get that.
It's almost like a chore. Wednesday at work, I'm like, I gotta do the podcast. I can just go home and do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm a lazy man. I'm sorry. I'm very lazy.
No, I get it.
You picked a really interesting line of work for a lazy man.
Dishwashing is not that hard.
I know, but you stand on your feet like 8 hours
No.
a day, and you're like constant. Yeah, that's not lazy work.
You know what's weird though? I actually like washing dishes, so it's like not that hard. It's like,
I believe it.
I get to wash dishes today.
It's the thing about washing dishes, having done it many years ago.
You mean you don't wash your dishes anymore, Brendan?
Nope.
Professionally speaking.
Oh,
He licks them clean.
Like I had a job where
he
that's what I
hires
did
local
for-
cats.
Yeah, I don't have many dishes to do anymore. That's a whole different story. But
Yes, it is.
it's mindless. It's really mindless. You know what you're doing. You're good at it. It doesn't take a huge skill. Sometimes you get a challenge. Something gets a little crusty. That state between too hard and too easy, that's the zone. That's when you know you're in the zone. So that's
Sometimes
what's
it's like you're totally backed up. There's lots of shit to do, but it's still like there's not pressure on you. It's not like when you're cooking, like when I was a line cook at Burgerville for 10 years, it's like they need these 10 sandwiches now. Everyone's hungry and they're pissed off.
And you have to make sure they're correct and they're not raw and they're done appropriately.
And
Whereas
nobody cares.
Cleaning dishes, you don't even have to actually clean them.
Yeah.
I'm kind
You
of
can just move them along and just tell people they're clean. And if they go, no, there's a speck on here, like, yeah, you're blind. Then gaslight them and tell them that they're wrong.
Yeah, that's just the imperfection of the China.
Yeah,
Right.
I used to have that kind of anxiety. We had a payroll of 30 people, 35, 40 people that I had to meet every month. And I knew that.
Wait, did you say every month?
I said every month.
It sounded like month.
Mumford
And
and
I
Sons?
wasn't quite sure what that word was.
Well, it's pretty important that we change the whole point of conversation so we can explore Matt's mishearing of something.
Have you not figured that out yet, Brendan?
I know, but
it's taken you all this time to come to that conclusion.
No, not at all.
I mean, it certainly isn't the first time you've made that observation.
No, I know it isn't. That's what I'm saying, But I feel that maybe it would be better if we did our own things. If anyone wants to even do that. And the reason why is because I feel like there's literally creative differences.
What?
Yeah.
What are the creative differences?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't do a show anything like this because the show doesn't make any sense. It has we've added some things to it. And see, this is the joke. This is why I say I wasn't in on the original joke of this. So I just sort of show up at the party and everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. And everybody's like, well, yeah, that's what the point is. And I'm like, okay. So we've added some bits. We've added waspy soda pop. the sponsor, we've added some things,
Yeah.
but it hasn't gone anywhere. Not that any one of us, except you, honestly, has put in any real effort other than Wednesday night. So, but I wouldn't know where we would go if I wanted to put more effort into it, because this was how I was explaining the show. This show's all about Greg. This is about Greg, because Greg and I would have these long conversations, and we would have these funny conversations, and they were hilarious. And I just thought, we should record them. And now there's a pandemic, and let's do it. That's how the show was pitched to me. And I went, sure, I got nothing.
It's pretty accurate.
I'm in a 30-year marriage that's so slowly spiraling out of control. Why not add this to it?
And then you realize that I wasn't even funny.
No, I think you're both funny. I think you're both funny in different ways. And I think that there is a certain amount of unexpressed hostility that sort of rises up between you, just like there's a little bit of unexpressed hostility that rises up between Matt and I.
What?
It's kind of expressed.
Fuck
I don't know
you,
if it's
Brendan.
unexpressed. You've sometimes expressed your hostility.
I would say it is more expressed. You're right. But, I'm just
There
saying.
isn't a lot of passive aggressiveness that happens in this podcast, I have to say. I mean, the aggressiveness does occur. There is the passive aggressive stuff, but that's what Greg's for. So,
right.
That was a passive aggressive statement, Greg, in case
I don't remember it that way.
Right.
No.
So anyway, so that's how I showed up here. And then I stuck with it because, like I said, I had nothing better to do on Wednesday night, and it was fun to talk to people for about nothing and make jokes and be silly and be crude, honestly.
So the creative differences are more like there was no creativity in general.
I don't want to say that, because I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's that binary, to use a word. I don't think that there was no creativity. I think there was a creativity, but I think the effort for more creativity or getting together on the same page and deciding what to do, we never seemed to kind of be able to come together for that. I'm not saying that was anyone's fault or whatever, or that we even tried that hard, but it didn't seem like we were building something. It just felt like we were doing something.
We were never building something because Greg didn't want to build anything. Greg didn't even really want to do this to begin with.
No, I liked the beginning. I really had fun. It was the pandemic. There's nothing to do.
Right. But the thing was, though, is that, even before the pandemic, we kind of talked about like doing like a YouTube thing.
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it.
The idea, just like my even shittier podcast, my comic book podcast, I kind of got the idea of like, wow, we're going to be the worst podcasts out there. It's kind of just like I was in bands that just sucked. But it almost gave me more energy to be like, let's keep going. No band is as shitty as us. Let's just keep going out there.
We're the shittiest band in Portland.
Oh, and the one thing I have learned about getting into the podcast arena is that there are so many worse podcasts than us. I mean, so many. I was like, there's a multitude that are just worthless, So I was totally okay with us being above those.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, either way, it wasn't really a comparison thing so much more. Just wondering if we would ever find our tribe more than anything, like people who would like align with our senses of humor or just our sensibilities in general, and see if anybody was really out there who, gave a crap about whatever we talked about. So we found a couple of guys in North Dakota who don't know where they are now. I don't know if they're still listening anymore. If they're not, it's all good.
It's winter time.
Right. I mean, they're going to start. I guess what we're going to have to start doing now is we're going to have to start like making lots of calls to their show to prop them up.
Yeah.
Give them.
We'll give them our listeners. We'll sell them our client base.
Oh yeah. you got a list of those, do you, Greg?
Huh?
Do you have the list?
Yeah, Maria.
Yeah, it's on his cell phone.
It's his sister. It's Paula.
My brother and Paula.
Send all of his family contacts to Shanty, and we'll be done.
They'll all get them. At least on their podcast, they have people that interact whenever they're doing a live broadcast.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's very rare when
we
occurs.
do sometimes where some random person will say, "Gobble gooba gooba," like some random thing on TikTok.
But again, the happy hour news guys, the show has a concept. It's their happy hour news. So they're sitting there and they're getting drunk and they're reading headlines. Is this the most original idea in the universe? No. But do you know how many YouTubers have 1 million subscribers who just sit around and watch other YouTube videos and comment on them, more than I can count.
Yeah, the fact is we didn't go into this with any structure. It
Right.
was essentially just a bantering format.
Mhm.
And there wasn't like an end goal, like what are we trying to achieve and how are we going to do it? Because I knew that Greg would never get behind something like that because he
Well, we
didn't
wanted a
want
pizza.
work. He didn't want to work.
We wanted a
Yeah.
pizza.
Well, that was the
And
idea
we
in the
got-
beginning whenever we were making a little bit of money
Yeah.
from Anchor, and then that all ended. So we made $50 from Anchor, and so we had a pizza show. So that happened. But
So we succeeded as a podcast.
yeah, but I mean, it was like nobody was really willing to put forth effort in terms of marketing or like honing in on what on our client base, our demographics, and to truly like make it happen, which is totally fine, because it requires a lot of work, effort, energy, and money to make those things happen. But that's kind of takes us to this stage. But if Greg is saying that things aren't fun anymore, the question really becomes, why isn't Greg making things fun anymore?
I don't know how to.
Oh, come on. That's just
I don't have much
that's
fun.
a cop out, Greg.
I don't know how to make fun. I would be having fun right now if I knew how to make fun.
Well,
I've lost the capacity to have fun. I'm like Livia Soprano. The capacity of
Poor
joy.
you. Where's that sound effect?
like
I need to find that
Livia.
one.
It's the capacity of joy is lessened in me as I get older. Like it's hard to even find joy anywhere.
And that is why I hate your alcoholism, Greg, because it has driven that
that's
out
the
of
only
you.
joy I have.
I'm just saying, it's deadened you. It's deadened you to the
Maybe
finer
it
things
has.
in life.
But I had a lot of things in my life. I was dead before.
And it becomes like this one thing now that is like affecting you negatively, and it's bad.
When I was in my early 20s, total sober as a church mouse. I was straight edge. I was like Ian MacKay. I
don't know what an Ian MacKay is. Is that a bird?
He invented straight edge, basically.
What is straight edge again?
Minor threat.
It's a minor threat.
Well, he's the singer of Minor Threat.
The band is Minor Threat. Fugazi, Minor Threat. You're a music guy. Come on, you must know these guys. Doesn't anyone know Fugazi?
No, he doesn't know that kind of music.
Karaoke?
Fugazi, I've heard of.
Okay, same guy, different band. That was his band after Minor Threat broke up.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
it was like a punk band then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's history even. Like in the early 80s, there's a movement in punk rock, straight edge, where punks who were known for just getting drunk all the time and taking pills, they were like, no, we're going to be fucking straight edge. We're not going to drink. We're not going to muddle our braids.
No baby aspirin.
Nothing.
No. Nothing.
Okay.
Oh, and the part that Greg isn't mentioning is also no sex.
Oh, yeah. But they changed that a little later, I think.
I bet they did.
Yeah.
When they had sex.
Like,
it all changed.
Oh, we're putting this in.
So why are they called Minor Threat?
That's the name of the band. That's
if they were against all of those things.
Because they're a small minor.
Yeah. They're a bunch of teenagers who were a threat, but they weren't that big because they were 4 teenagers playing the hardcore.
Got it. Okay. And they like created this movement of just being clean and sober.
Yeah, they popularized.
Were they like big fans of Ted Nugent or something? Because that was like his thing.
Yeah, I'm sure they were huge Ted Nugent fans.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's sarcasm.
I wouldn't no idea.
They could have been, sure.
We've really kind of gotten off.
So that means that Greg was a big Ted Nugent fan and probably still is.
I loved classic rock growing up, even when I got into hardcore. Because I was basically in a hardcore band a few years after Ian MacKay and Minor Threat. I was like early 80s. I was in a hardcore band. But I still listen to classic rock, and I still thought Ted Nugent always sucked. Cat Scratch Fever is a shit song. That song's just moronic.
And that's his best.
I know, that's his hit. And it sucks. It's like the most moronic, like, blah, 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 blah. It's so bad. It's not even catchy.
No, it's awful.
Okay. I don't know how anybody knows the name of that song at all because it's so uncatchy.
But I do love that he coined the term doing the Wango Tango. That's great.
Well, that's because he made that a song. The song was called Wango Tango.
Yeah. But he made that up. I don't think anyone ever said that before.
Well, he also had the song, was it Wang Dang Sweet Poontang as well?
That's a great title.
And did he have the one about my 13-year-old niece is actually my girlfriend? That was a big hit of his too, right?
Oh, I
thought it was Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, it was a
Oh
cover.
yeah,
of the
it was a
Jerry Lee
cover
Lewis
of Jerry Lee Lewis. He just updated it,
But you
for
know what, you
modern
gotta give-
audiences.
You got to give Ted Nugent credit because he had a live album where it was recorded in a bunch of cities, and it's called Intensities in 10 Cities. That is a fucking great pun.
And if you did it now, it would be intent cities in 10 cities. Intensities.
Yes, important.
Yeah.
You get like a third pun out of those terms.
Welcome to Portland.
Intent cities. Anyway, so I had kind of wanted to do like a leading up to a final episode and ending with like a wrap up at the end of December, and like every episode between now and then to like kind of highlight different aspects of our 2.5-year journey. But Greg had thrown out this idea that he was going to go on a sabbatical whenever it was like all going to be ending, which doesn't make any sense, especially if we're going to be ending. The end becomes the sabbatical. So it's like, obviously he just really, 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 really doesn't want to do this anymore.
And I definitely would not like to do another month of reliving our past episodes, like a very special episode of like Seinfeld.
We could bring out like the old sponsors that were never produced in any way and like address those.
We could play Green Day's Time of Our Life song.
We could do like the first 2 episodes we ever did, but add Brendan to it because he never got to participate in the first 2 episodes.
We could dub him in?
No, we could have actually had that conversation, but with Brendan this time around. That could have been something we could have done too.
That's
but now
like George Lucas with the remaking Star Wars, putting in.
Am I
Brendan is Jar Jar Binks?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. No, he'd be
yes, Master, that sounds a good idea, Master.
He'd be like hand shot first. He'd change the whole thing. I'd be like, that didn't happen in the original Star Wars.
Hand shot first.
You don't know that reference? It's a big nerd.
From the
because they changed it when they remade it.
Cantina.
Yeah, because Greedo against Greedo, they were like they wanted to make hand's not that bad. He wouldn't shoot a guy first. He was defending himself, and they changed the laser blast so Han only shot in self-defense.
Right.
Was it pronounced Han or Han?
Oh, sorry. I think it's Han. You're right. Han.
Okay. It's Han Solo.
Hans. Yeah.
Hello.
Solo.
Han Solo.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it's pronounced. But so this particular episode, we will not see Waspy Soda Pop. It is done, and we'll do an Ask Greg, but it's not going to be a pleasant one.
And what's the
and
legal ramifications of leaving a podcast where your contract is due? Breaking a contract.
like any of them have been pleasant, honestly. But anyway, we'll just kind of like see how this goes and where it goes to by the end. But this will be the final episode. I mean, nobody's like watching right now on YouTube.
I just want to say I
for me.
mulled wine today for a special occasion. I figured I'd get
Red
fancy.
blend with spices. Ooh, that sounds kind of nice.
I'm putting it in the microwave.
He's gone medieval on us.
I know, it's like mead.
So I'm not going to do any heavy production on this episode either. Afterwards, I'm basically just going to put in a beginning and an ending, and just kind of like end it, because what's the point, really, right? What's the point of making it try to be a little bit better when it's all over?
Well, you tried that for 2.5 years, and it didn't seem to.
No, we kept trying. I mean, it got a little bit better. At least I was enjoying it a little bit more because of that, But it's the effort one puts in that makes things a little bit better.
It was fun writing the sponsors.
If you don't put the effort in, then it's not going to be as much fun.
I wrote some sponsors. I put effort into those because I'm a bad writer. So it would take
You're not a bad writer. You have had some
it takes me a long time.
And, if there were more episodes ahead of us, we could get into how good of a writer you actually are, Greg.
You can interview me about my writing.
That's right. But there is a sponsor, because Brendan had put a sponsor together for this episode, and I'm very curious as to what the sponsor is. So I'm going to
final sponsor.
Give Brendan the floor.
Hold on, let me get it. Let me get my notes up.
Yes, get your sponsor nose up.
All right. So tonight, this very special episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker is brought to you by the newest and bestest app out there, Puffery. Done with dating apps? Tired of sitting alone and talking to yourself? Tired of putting up with people that don't get you? Sick of relationships altogether, but still need some sort of interaction? Well, welcome to Puffery. Download the app, fill out our short questionnaire about yourself, and Puffery will match you with your puffologist within 24 hours. Your puffologist is trained and certified by the University of Puffington in the United Kingdom. There, the long and storied art of puffery has been a tradition since 1647. Through our exclusive and completely secure app and online interface, you can schedule puff sessions with your puffologist and at the length and frequency that you require. At Puffery, you're always in the driver's seat. Your puff session will consist of your puffologist spending the time to pull you up in the manner you require. It could be laughing at your dad jokes and puns. It might be a good time of hoots and hollers as you go off about the political injustices of the man. Or maybe you just need a kind voice to reassure you you're not actually crazy. Whatever you need, your puffologist is there for you. And if you download the app and sign up today, you will also be enrolled in the Please Shut the Fuck Up Foundation's monthly Other Shit to Do box program at no additional cost. Puffery. We get you.
Puffery.
I remember the Shut the Fuck Up Foundation from a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think they sponsored us one episode, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a joint, it was sort of a referral deal that I got out of those guys.
Yeah, that was the sponsor that was made just to attack me, I remember.
Aren't most of them? This one was kind of made to attack both you and me, Greg.
Wait, was it puffologist or pathologist? You were saying puffologist.
P-U-F-F.
Puff.
As in puffery.
Like the magic dragon.
Like the magic dragon.
Or like in puffery.
As in puffery. That was the name of the
how
app.
it started was saying puffery, Greg.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an as if, it was actually.
He was saying pathologists who work for puffery. But he was
they were puffologists.
Puffologists. Okay.
Yeah, because you can't really say puff-scientists, so you'd have to do something that's a little easier to pronounce.
Puffologists seem better than puff-scientist or
yes.
Puff-doctor? Puff-octor?
Puff-octor.
That's horrible.
Actually, I think Greg is a puff-octor.
But anyway.
Trologist? Like a proctologist?
Yes. No, none of these things are meant to attack you, Greg. I'm sorry if you felt that way, but that was not the case. We were in the middle of the political season, and it wasn't just you, it was everybody. It was everywhere I turned. People were like, it's the end of the world if you didn't get out and vote. And, and let me tell you, did you see what they said about, Elon Musk and Twitter? And I'm just like, please, this is so unimportant. Go shut the fuck up. Go teach a kid to read. Go make cookies for somebody. Do something. Whittle a stick.
Teach a kid to read. Find a kid who can't read and teach him how to read.
There's tons of them. I can tell you.
They're out there.
They're out there. They're all over.
Find a kid who can read and teach him how to read again in a better way.
Fine.
They're not reading right.
Find a kid who knows how to read and teach him a different language.
Yeah.
All of these would be infinitely better than sending me text messages about some political thing I don't care about.
Who is sending you these text messages, Brendan? Who are these people who are harassing you in this way?
People that I know, friends.
Oh. What kind of friends are sending you texts like that, though?
People that want to convert me, convince me, get an attaboy. People who need a puffery. I'm not that guy. I know. I hope.
And you think they would know that by now?
You would think that. Well, if the numbers are
dwindling,
yeah, I think they figured out I'm here. I had to tell one guy. I was like, I was being just weird with him because I was bored. He's like, "Come on, where are you? What are you?" And then I was like, "I'm in Portland," and he's like, "Why?" And so then I was getting lost, and finally I was just like, "Dude, enough. I don't care about any of this." I had one person text me a video to a YouTube channel of a woman who was convinced that the fibers on her clothes were self-aware government tapeworms.
Oh, that's a thing.
How would you know that they're not, Brendan?
Oh, she was sitting there going like this, going, "See, it's moving," and I'm like, "It's called static electricity." Jesus Christ. So that's why
static electricity is a conspiracy of the government to make spoons stick to your arm.
Like, this is the dumbest. If it was, it's the dumbest conspiracy ever. Okay, so listen to the plan.
This is how we're gonna fix it.
microscopic thread monsters that are self-aware. They're like a living thing. We're going to spread them through the clouds, and then they will fall to the earth so they can burrow themselves into middle-aged white ladies' skin.
To find out about their cleansing habits.
Yeah.
What lotion are you using today, Karen?
This thing isn't working at all. What we really need is little fiber optic worm robots.
You know, I got the COVID vaccine 3 times. You know, I've got the boosters, and like, look at this. I'm fucking magnetized. Look at this. The lighter sticking to my forehead.
Right.
See that?
I see that.
Yes, Greg. Yes, Greg. Brendan and I see that.
Okay, I'm saying this proof.
My point is, Greg, it was not just
not a
about
strong
you.
Magnet.
It was about everybody. It was so much about everybody. I actually went out and bought the domain. Please shut the fuck up.co.
You own it?
CO. Yeah, I couldn't get com. I got CO and I got XYZ. That's why in the sponsor I said XYZ. And I'm going to start building a website probably once I get back from Florida. Like next
Please
year.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm really going to figure out a way to I figure I can get some really cheap, like kits, like do stuff kits, and it'll be a gag gift, you know what I mean? And I'll charge $20, and Ian knows how to drop ship stuff out of a factory in Wuhan or whatever he does. So I'll just set it up with him.
Drop ship some COVID
from Wuhan. You're going to be fucking bombed by 4chan in a month. You're going to have all these not shutting the fuck up in a month.
I know.
Attacking your site.
I hope that would happen. That would.
He wants that much notoriety.
That would be the greatest thing ever.
So, Greg, at what point did this stop being fun for you? When was like the tipping point? The thing where you went, this is not any good anymore.
Well, at first when we kept having like all these guests who were lame.
Yeah.
And then we got away from that. And we could just talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, a few months later, I was just like, I don't know, it just became a chore.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it.
Was it when you were dating Jen? Was that when it really happened?
It was before then. I mean, I think at least a year ago, I first.
Well, a year ago, you were dating her.
No.
Yeah, because you guys went.
Oh, that's what just started. You're right.
Yeah.
It was even more than a year ago. I said, I wanted to leave the podcast when we had all those crappy guests on. You were like, we'll change it soon.
Yeah. Well, I changed it because you didn't want them on anymore. So that's why things changed. See, I was willing to do things for you, Greg. I was.
I know.
I changed for you, Greg.
I know, and I changed for you.
Did you? How did you change for me, Greg? You didn't stop drinking heavily.
That wasn't part of the deal. People come on the podcast to see me get drunk. That's a big draw for us.
Oh, that's where we're getting all of our viewers from. Your sister comes on to watch you be drunk.
It's like
she
people
feels
go to see a circus.
Good about you.
It's like, I'm like the circus geek. It's like, wow, that guy's a fucking loser.
I mean, there's people that have Twitch channels with hundreds of thousands of viewers that do, arguably dumber shit than that, honestly.
So what are you going to do? What are you guys going to do with your Wednesdays once this is all over? What's your plan?
Well, I'm going to start my YouTube channel if I can figure out how to post it.
You had 6 other days of the week you could have worked on your YouTube channel, Greg. What have you done?
I'm tired. I work. I'm an old man.
So you're not going to be tired on Wednesdays, and that's when you'll be able to work on it.
I'll have an extra day, yeah. It'll be nice.
An extra day to ignore it, you mean?
Well, no, I'm not ignoring it. I just don't have the technological know-how to take a video on my phone and then send an email of it because it's too big a file.
Uh-huh.
It won't get off my phone.
I thought you had a camera.
If you have a phone, you have a little plug here. You have an iPhone.
Not if it's an iPhone. They don't have those plugs anymore.
Yeah, you plug it in here, and then you plug it into a computer, and you can move the stuff off. Or if it's an iPhone.
He doesn't have a computer. He has a tablet that he thought was a laptop.
I don't have that jack thing you're talking about. I need that jack, I guess. A jack that would connect my phone to my iPad.
Any cord you have that charges your phone, if it's an iPhone, it's the same cord. It's exactly the same cord. The same cord that charges your phone also transfers data.
You realize you're going to have to go to his apartment, Brendan, and show him step by step to make this work.
I'm just
for like a week.
Well, here's a charger, right? Look, here's one end of the cord. which doesn't fit into my phone
No.
or my computer.
Where does this go?
So
How
it's
do I work
I need a
take it
special
out?
cord.
I
This
was
is called
raised in the 1870s,
It's
and I
called
did.
it's called a lightning cord. So this is the part that fits into your phone.
Yeah.
And then the part that goes into usually they have a little square, which is USB.
I don't have that on my iPad.
You don't have a USB on your iPad?
No, it's just got the little charger hole, and that's it as far as holes.
No.
Well, then he would just need like the one that has two ends, like the one that you have.
Yeah. If you had a little doggle, whatever.
A USB-C, I believe it might be.
But I would like to think that I could send
theory.
a 5-minute video somehow, figure it out. I know there's a way. I send 1-minute videos to people all the time. It's got to be a way to send a longer video.
Yeah, it's called it's called what's it called? Dropbox.com.
Dropbox. I'll look into that.
Where you can upload bigger files to it, and then you can go to that website and then download things from that website to your computer or wherever.
Okay.
Or get a cloud account of some kind where you can upload things to the cloud and then download from the cloud to whatever device you have.
Google Drive, 100% over Dropbox. Dropbox's way of handling files and formats and the way they change shit, and it's god awful.
And what are you going to do on your Wednesdays?
Well,
I know Max is going to cry.
What I'm really going to do,
that's what I'll do.
What I'm really going to do, if we're being completely honest, is the last, 3 or 4 months have been a little rough for me, and I've gone through some patches, and I've done a lot of soul searching, and so I kind of came out the other end, and I was like, okay, you know what I mean? This is one of those times where you tell yourself, oh, you know what? If I didn't have all these responsibilities at home and I was just by myself, I'd do all these groovy things. I'd start a band and a book club and, take over the world and run for mayor or whatever. You know what I mean? And then you get there and you're doing the same dumb shit you always did. You're watching YouTube videos and drinking beer and reading a book and playing a video game on your phone. And you're like, oh, you know what? Tomorrow is when I'm going to get all that going. It's just today was a bad day. I gave myself a mental health day, whatever you want to call it. And then the next day comes and you just keep shuffling the shit. Well, I did that a few times. And if you do that by yourself long enough, I think you go one or two directions. You either cave into it or you just snap out of it. And I sort of snapped out of it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to focus on getting my business out of my hair. I'm going to go back to Florida and meet with this attorney and decide what is happening with my divorce and the marriage and the house and all of that. And then I'm going to come back and I'm just going to put my attention on that. Now, I mean, does that mean, Wednesday night was, stopping you from doing that? No, of course not. But that's what I'm going to focus on and come out the other end. And then I'll decide what I'm actually going to do. Creatively speaking.
Yeah. Well, more than likely what I'll do, if any of you care, on Wednesdays, is I might pick up like another karaoke gig, maybe, on a Wednesday.
It's not a bad idea.
I might just spend more time working on this YouTube channel or creating another YouTube channel to try and, make some income, like an additional
How do
way.
we find this YouTube channel, by the way?
Which one?
Your YouTube channel. Why don't you promote
Besides this, because no one's watching, Greg, so promoting it here doesn't make any sense.
Well, 3 people are. Maria might start watching it.
I would check it out. I think you told me once. I'm on YouTube all the time.
It's Sci-Fi Fantasy News Channel.
If I type Sci-Fi Fantasy News
channel, you have to do the whole thing. Sci-Fi Fantasy News Channel. Okay. You just do Sci-Fi Fantasy News, you'll get other channels because it's still pretty small. I've only got like 6 subscribers or whatever. So I just actually uploaded another video today onto the channel, which was a science fiction video game news piece. So I'm kind of enjoying it. It's like I'm having fun with it, but it wasn't something that was getting in the way of doing this. It's just something I did along with this.
Yeah.
It wasn't it made it seem like it was some side thing I was doing that was more prevalent than the podcast, and it wasn't.
No. I was joking. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that. I understand that, obviously the logic, and I totally agree, is, if you're not doing this on Wednesday night, whatever you're doing, that's true. I just felt like this had reached some sort of conclusion.
Well, it reached a conclusion because Greg finally broke down in front of us last week on the podcast and made it incredibly clear how we've abused and
I don't
damaged
think
him.
broke down.
Oh yeah, no, I actually did a special thing on the video to
It
point
was
it
a
out.
moment of clarity.
It's fine, same thing. You know, you have that same moment of clarity. But yeah, but I specifically did a nice little scrolling text thing over your head showing that this was the moment when it all ended. So that was on the video last week.
I'm used to being that shtick, and I thought it was a good part of our show.
You're used to being what shtick?
That I was drunk and stupid, and you guys would jump on me.
But
I
we
like-
never considered you to be stupid, Greg.
Well,
dude, I'm sitting here. I'm the last one to throw rocks at you about drinking.
no, but I was pretty stupid. I mean, but I thought it was funny, stupid.
Well, that particular part wasn't stupid so much as very real. You
Did I
know,
talk
you
on
were
the
you were
show
kind of
about
in an
leaving the
emotion.
show?
You were in kind of in a heightened emotional state at that particular
Well, I've been in
time.
like the past 3 months. I've been in a very different state than I've ever been in my life as far as emotions.
In the last 3 months.
Yeah.
What's happened in the last 2 months?
Well, 3 months ago, the whole Jen breakup thing happened. And
Right,
fuck-
but that was 3 months ago.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So since then,
So you're
the last
still are you
3
still
months-
broken up by that?
I'm kind of messed up about it.
Seriously.
Mhm.
Wow, I feel freedom.
Yeah.
Well, Greg,
Well-
I'm not trying to one up you here, but about
No,
3
I
months
know.
ago, I left a 30-year marriage and a
I know.
$500,000 house in Florida, and I live in a small room by myself most of the time.
Yeah.
I went 3 days without talking to anyone. I had to stop and go, have I spoken? Now I texted people and I chatted with people. I didn't speak with anybody. So the last bit of my sponsor was actually a joke at me, which is you just need somebody to talk to make sure you're not actually fucking going crazy. So I get it. And I understand it. I am not even judging you. I'm kind of doing the same thing. It's true. And
Well, I was explaining to Greg earlier before you came on that he just needed to follow your advice, which is just get over it.
that is part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a real dumb way of saying it. And I realize that, there's a lot more to it than that, but it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you, but you just have to move on.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that about the ending of this podcast. Just get over it, Matt.
I mean,
Greg, I am over it.
Okay.
I'm totally over it. This is why
Right.
we're doing this. If I had to hang on, I'd find a way. I would do it, but I don't got to. I made my peace when I realized that I was battling alcoholism. So when I had that realization, then I was like, all right, well, this is the deal.
I'm not always drunk. When I'm sober, I was just like, I don't like to do this podcast anymore.
Yeah.
All my coworkers know it. They'd always be like, I gotta go do my fucking podcast. I wish I didn't have to, but I got it.
Uh-huh. Right.
Well, that's
As I said. Obviously, the alcoholism prevented you from actually having like a real conversation about it.
I tried so many times in the past year and a half, and every time
That's my point,
we
though.
need you. And I was like, okay, I don't think you do. Because I'm an idiot. But
that's the thing, though, is like
I kept
you're
going.
being self-deprecating, but you're not an idiot.
that's what I always do. I'm not that bright, though.
Great. That's not Jesus Christ.
I'm
That's
not.
not true. It's not true.
It is
It's
true.
not true that you're stupid. It's
No,
not
I mean,
true, Greg.
I know how bright I used to be.
Hey,
to
where'd that
point out.
puffery goddamn sponsor go? We need puffery, right?
I
We
gotta
need
write
him
it
to
down.
get a puffologist so that
I
he
know a
realizes he's not a moron.
that's what I'm saying. Your trained pathologist my trained pathologist is working with me to explain to me that I'm not crazy. Now, part of that is interacting with a little digital bird on my phone that I get up and dress every morning and send on his little adventure, and then he gives me tasks to do throughout the day. So that's weird, and I understand that. But I just need somebody to go, you know what, Brendan, it's okay. And sometimes that's nobody. So that's why I think puffery is right for me. It's probably right for you.
Yeah, I
Maybe
need
for
a
different
pathologist.
reasons. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yes, you need somebody like over your shoulder constantly telling you you're good enough, you're smart enough, and God darn it, people like you.
Right.
They don't really.
It's true, Greg. They
Mm.
do,
Most of my
Greg.
coworkers
Oh,
don't like.
come on. Come
Greg,
on. I know
I'm
somebody
not
who
being-
really
I'm-
likes you and
I'm
would hate to hear you like saying things like that.
No, I'm not being anti-puffery. I just know that a lot of people, even like when I was younger, it was always an uphill battle to make people like me. They saw me and then instantly just take a dislike to me. I had a lot of people barely knew me and would be jerks to me. They'd be like, "Oh, you fat piece of shit,"
Well,
and then I'd have to prove myself to them.
But
and I
that's
win
just
them over.
those people. That's not everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
there's a-
everybody's
Of
going to
course not.
dislike somebody based
Not
upon their
everyone.
appearance.
I'm
That's
just
the way
saying
it goes.
it's a lot.
The question is how you react to it, how you respond to it.
I would a lot of times win them over, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna."
Yeah, but then you go into agreement with them, Greg, and that's the problem here is that you're going into agreement with your detractors, and that's not the way to go.
I don't agree with them. I didn't like that they didn't like me.
You
for
keep
no good
calling
reason.
yourself an idiot. You say you're not smart. That's what I'm saying.
Smart. I'm not. I mean, I know my limitations. I mean, I don't think
So
it's like,
yeah, you know your limitations. That doesn't
poo-pooing
mean that it just this fact that you know your limitations is an example of you not being stupid.
I agree. And I
Good.
think
yeah,
I'm
'cause
pretty smart compared to a lot of people in America.
Okay.
Look, I mean,
a
Yeah.
lot of I came from Florida. Those people do not think there's anything wrong with them, and that's the problem. And
I
they're
know.
crazy and dumb.
yeah, I know I have a certain base intelligence that I feel like. Well, after the past 5 years, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not that dumb. Is that
Okay.
not?
I'm
I'm smarter
trying
than a
to.
lot of
You
people.
know, we're all stupid compared to somebody else.
Right,
No,
but
but
some
a lot
other
of people.
person.
Apparently, a lot of people. Apparently,
So
I'm
what?
smart.
So that's the case. That doesn't make you stupid in general.
All I'm trying to say is
No, I'm saying it makes me
what
smart.
does this have to do with you not being happy about it? What does whatever have to do with that? That's what I'm
With
trying
what?
to make the
Me being happy about life.
No, the
the
podcast.
The podcast. I'm not happy
Oh,
with the
no,
podcast
that has
because
nothing to
I
do
think
with
I'm stupid. Oh, okay.
I mean, I always knew like I was the goofy voice of drunken idiocy, but I thought that was like, that was kind of, some people might think that's funny, like, oh,
I thought it was funny. That's really what it
Yeah.
comes down to.
sometimes I thought I was funny.
You are funny.
I thought you were funny.
Yeah, Greg,
and-
you're just going to have to get used to the fact that it's true. You are funny.
And as to the
Not as funny as I used to be.
Well,
As to the
none of
whole-
us are.
I can't think of things like I might have a good joke on the tip of my brain, but I can't remember the exact name, and then it's too late. I lose the time. I
It's
used to not
okay.
do that.
We're all old and
is.
deteriorating, Greg.
I know. I'm not beating myself up that much about it, but it is kind of annoying that I used to be pretty quick. Somebody would say something, I'd instantly know the reference. I'd be like, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And-
I used to have that too. I used to have words at my beck and call. And now
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is a refrigerator? It's like, what's the refrigerator? That's what the hell I'm trying to say. No, I understand this totally.
Not that I'm perfect, but the truth is, if you're asking somebody who's thought about this stuff, because I have, your mind is, and your memory and all that sort of shit is just like any other muscle. If you don't use it a lot, it will start to deteriorate if you don't work out. So you just need to have mental workouts. I mean, the luck I have in my job, by design, is that I have to solve stupid problems all the time. Like problems I have no idea, like jigsaw, like
I
bananas
should start
problems.
doing Sudoku again. I used to love Sudoku puzzles.
Do that. That I can tell you that if you do that for 8 weeks to 3 months, something like that, you'll notice a difference.
8 weeks to 3 months. So that's the doctor telling you, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The puffery.
8 weeks to 3 weeks of Sudoku will fix your ailments.
I didn't say that. I said that if he's looking to sharpen his mind a little bit, doing some exercise. If your job, Matt, consists of doing this all day and just playing over, and listening to podcasts and music, you're not really doing much. Like you're not solving it. You might have to. So I'm not saying you're not solving the problems. Like, okay, I got to do these dishes first, and then I got to organize my time this way. I'm not saying that's zero problems, but it's not anything where, like you've got to figure out the password from somebody's account who's dead, and his ex-wife has some ideas about it, and you're literally with a pad writing down all like beautiful mind, writing down different ideas about what it could be.
Like a cryptologist.
Knowing you've got
code breaker.
Like you've got 7 opportunities, or it cuts you out.
Yeah.
Those kind of problems. That's a different level of.
They're like, oh, the password was a Navajo. That's why I couldn't break the code.
Exactly.
Well, either way, Greg, you now have your prescription to handle what you perceive as your own idiocy. It's
Well, the thing
Sudoku
was,
for
I
8
tried
weeks to 3
I,
months.
I was I was a Sudoku freak for like 6
Well, then
months.
do logic puzzles then.
Or maybe crossword puzzles. I was like
Sure,
those, but
you do those too. Crossword puzzles. That's your prescription to mental health, Greg.
All I'm saying
so
is this goes back to the, get busy and do something else. You know what I mean? If you're not happy, then you got to change something. You got to do
I'm
something.
trying to do that.
And that doesn't mean more booze.
I know that. I've been lessening my booze a lot.
Yeah.
But I do want to start this YouTube channel. I do want something to like.
So what are you going to do about it, Greg? How are you going to make this happen?
I don't know, like call up more friends and be like, how do I get this video off my phone?
Are you familiar with the organization Free Geek?
Yes.
Yeah, they're based in Portland. Go to them and say, what the hell? They're a nonprofit, and they might even have stuff they could give you to help you on your way. But maybe they give you advice on like how to actually make it, or there might be workshops at the local library you could go to where they teach you how to do YouTube channels for old men who look like stevedores.
I don't know if I want to hang out with that ilk, that type of person.
You are the resident longshoreman in this podcast, Greg. So Brendan's more looking like a lumberjack, but you're more the longshoreman.
Oh, good. That's what I was going for, was more lumberjack. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
Yes. So many things I could add to this in post-production, but that ain't happening tonight. As a completely side note, Greg, I don't know if you know this, but baby Ketten's 17th anniversary is tonight. And I was invited to the party to come early. If you're interested, I'm planning on being there around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You should go. I'm sure he would invite you if he thought that you actually ever looked at your Facebook page.
No, he's not like, you were a big sponsor of him. So I was
a big sponsor of him?
You're like Warren Buffett for him.
No, I just gave him some money for a room.
Yeah.
To help him with his
Kickstarter
campaign. Yeah, that's all.
So you helped him start.
A little bit. I mean, more people helped with a lot more money than I did. I brought a lot of people in. That's where I think I came in more handy, was I brought humans into his place of establishment so they could get benefit from it, But anyway, so that's my plan for tonight. But I won't be doing any really editing of this.
I think Brendan should come. Brendan could sing Minor Threat. He actually has Minor Threat songs and Fugazi songs.
That's good.
Yeah. It'll actually be a big party.
Is there going to be free vegan food?
I don't know. Probably not free. I don't think John believes in free at his restaurant, at his establishment.
What is the establishment?
Just happy.
It's Baby Kitten Karaoke. It's a karaoke place, and they have
where is it?
Very obscure karaoke tracks.
It's about a 5-minute walk or 20-minute walk from my house.
Oh,
it's like towards the river from my house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's starting karaoke an hour early tonight in celebration of 17 years as a thing. Baby
As an establishment? Nice.
No, the establishment's only been around since just before the pandemic, about a year before the pandemic.
But he was a KJ that people would follow for like 17 years. Like he would just pop up in different bars.
He catered to the hipsters.
He was one of the first guys who wrote his own tracks, made his own tracks.
Well, he wasn't one of the first guys to do that, but he was the one who really No, he was one of the ones who popularized it in this area for doing really obscure things that nobody else is doing and doing them in high quantity. And that's what made it. And he also would take songs out that he didn't want to hear people sing anymore. So they would no longer sing those songs like Picture from Kid Rock or Don't Stop Believin' or stuff from the Grease soundtrack. He would just get rid of those so that he would get a certain clientele as opposed to the great unwashed.
But I would beg to differ, even though I don't have statistics. In his first 3 years, he was written up in the New York Times as like this KJ who was doing something nobody was doing. I read the article.
It wasn't that he was doing something nobody else was doing. What he was just doing things differently.
No, the fact that he made his own
I read the article too, Greg. I
remember they talked about how he went down his basement and recorded the bass line of a track he couldn't find a sample of for a new order.
But he wasn't the first one to do that. I mean, the people were doing that for years before.
One guy, but not many.
I'm saying no, there wasn't one guy. People were doing it for years before. For years.
Always been
there years before.
I don't know.
Yeah, this isn't karaoke chat.
Yeah, no, it's.
This
I
is
mean,
the end.
I think you guys would kill it if you stopped doing this nonsense, sent me packing, and just did a karaoke show.
No.
Because
Or
then-
have you stay on and
No.
just give a
not.
shit about it.
No, because then
Would
I'm
you
just a
shut up about
bully.
karaoke?
Yeah, that why am I here? That's the whole point. You know what I mean?
You'd be the curmudgeon.
Yeah, no one. I mean, the idea of having like the we've got Joe Blow on the right and Steve Smith on the left, and they're gonna battle it out for you. No one cares. No one wants it. They want it they want puffery. They just want to just hear whatever. That is what I like. That's all they want.
I was kind of sad and disappointed. I thought people would, because I like that. Like, I like happy hour news because they're like just so random. Like, you don't know what they're gonna fucking say next.
Right.
And
I'm just saying the point counterpoint thing has.
No, I mean, but they
Long
do
since.
that too. Sometimes they argue and they're drunk, so they're just kind of like,
I mean,
It's-
Shanty bullies the other guy.
oh yeah,
Oh yes, strongly.
Strongly.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Sanchez, thank you.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Sanchez, I do remember I just brainworm. So, but yeah, so and I love them both. But I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe Sanchez was like, you know what? Tired of this.
No,
What
they're
are they
still
done?
going. They
They're still
just released a new episode, I think, last week or something.
Yeah.
I decided to listen. I made myself listen to it so that I could be supportive.
Oh, good.
So
Did you like and subscribe?
I don't know if I think I
You
subscribed
didn't.
to them. No, I think I subscribed to them. I just don't remember who I subscribed. I have like a number of different Google Chrome pages that I watch different things on. So
I
it's
don't-
like I have to have a different email address for different Google Chrome moments, I guess.
I never like
You know.
or subscribe. I'm a podcast listener every day. I listen to like 10 podcasts religiously. I never think to do that.
All right. So what are the 10 podcasts you listen to religiously, Greg?
The Dollop,
Yeah.
the history podcast. I listen to,
The History
lot.
Podcast is the name of the podcast?
no, it is a history podcast, but it's called The
You
Dollop.
don't have to, you don't give me specifics. Just tell me the names of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of them I barely remember the names. It's like comic podcasts. Word Balloons, which is terrible, but he has good guests on.
Just name them off. Just list them
Okay.
off right now. Don't give it any detail. Just list them. So the Dollop, the Word
I just know
Balloons.
them by the logo. I just click on the actual names escape me sometimes. Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, until he
Okay.
died, I kind
I
of
was gonna
stopped.
say,
Right.
Next
Keep
is
going.
the-
Again, just list them off, Greg. Come on.
I'm thinking it's
That's
hard, but
3.
how do we think of the names? I just click on the.
Do Sudoku right now. That will help you.
I don't know.
Okay, let me get my
I honestly, Matt, don't know what the hell you think you're trying to achieve, or if you're just
Yeah.
being an asshole. Because
No,
right now
it's-
you're just kind of being an asshole.
I know it's even more than 10. It's like literally, I pop around all
I
these.
just wanted to know what the names of the freaking podcasts are. You're the
I thought
asshole,
it'd be more
Brendan.
interesting to tell
Fuck
Okay,
you.
well, here,
Fuck
here,
you and
here.
your asshole labeling.
Here, let me give you some names of some podcasts, because it's really about you just want a list of podcasts so you can.
I wanted to hear
talk
which
about-
ones he said he listened to 10 of them, and I wanted to hear what the 10
Oh,
were
you
that he
wanted
listened
to-
to.
You wanted
So
to
you want me to
challenge
prove
him
that-
because
No,
he
I
said
wasn't
10.
trying to challenge him, regardless of
I-
your own weird
No, it
concept.
sounded like
I
you
wanted
were.
to know what 10 podcasts he was listening to.
And
Wait,
Why
just
is that a bad thing to want to
Sometimes
know,
I don't
Brendan?
remember the
Why do
names.
you have a problem with that? Seriously, what is your fucking problem?
Because you're being an asshole.
No, I'm not. You're being
Yeah,
a
you
fucking. I was
Yeah, you
trying to
are.
find out what the names of the podcasts were.
Come on, man. That was
No,
not
come
what you were
on
doing.
yourself, for fuck's sake.
Mhm.
Do we have to argue on the last podcast? guys?
Apparently, yes, we do.
Well, if we're having a podcast about how this podcast made Greg feel bad, and then you proceed to be kind of an over the top
Oh,
asshole, you
like,
haven't.
pretend to be empathetic for once. Go ahead.
You're so clever, Matt. That's the
Yes,
real
aren't I?
problem
Aren't
with-
I just so
Yeah,
clever?
You are very
Are you
clever.
saying that
Yes,
Brendan-
incredibly
Like-
clever.
Like Greg is just trying to tell a story about this guy that you guys are going to go see or not, and all you could do is correct him every time he said something about the New York Times article. Well, no, people have been doing that more and more. Well, that he wasn't the first one to do that. Just let him talk. Why do you feel it's so compelled to interrupt people with your own stuff? That's my question.
I don't
That's
know. I'll have to
Thank-
dissect it and like look at it closely and go, what actually makes me do that? I'm just curious. Maybe you have better insight from me, Brendan. Why don't you tell me? Well, you've got a full analysis of what I'm doing, so give it up.
No, I'm just saying this is what
No,
anyone
come on. I mean,
watches-
this is what you want to get into, so get into
No,
it.
no,
You
what-
have the incisiveness at your command, so you know the analysis of my behavior and my personality. So you should tell me exactly what it is. If it's truly a quandary for you, a thing that's like making you go, God, really, what is causing him to do this? I think you already have the answer, and we may as well just say
I
it
know
so that
he
I can learn from it, Brendan.
I don't have the answer why you do what you do, man. I don't know
I
why.
don't either.
No, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about
confusing.
Brendan.
Yeah.
I know, but I think both
No.
of us are like, why does Matt do that sometimes?
Right.
Just like
Yeah.
you wonder why I do. Why does Greg drink all the time and be stupid?
I don't think that you be stupid, Greg.
Well, I'm stupider when I drink. Like obviously,
Yeah.
I forget things you say, and
These are
I'm
not the same points.
Yeah.
But can I
no.
just say, guys?
No,
Can I
but
correct
no,
something?
I wanted to get Brendan's response.
Okay.
Greg.
I don't have one.
Well, you must. I mean, come
No.
on. You went at me, so come at me. Come at me
I
good.
did. I did.
Nah, it's not good enough, Brendan. Come on, let's do better.
Do better at what?
Do better at coming after me. I mean, you
I'm not
have
trying to
this
come after you.
analysis. You're
Maybe
saying I'm so clever
quandary.
and whatever else
Well,
you
maybe
wanted
it's
to
all
like insult me
quandary.
with.
All I'm
So
saying
come
is-
on, keep going.
Matt, chill out for a second. Just chill out for a second. All I said was that right then, when Greg was talking, you were being kind of an asshole. If you can't accept that without this kind of attack on me, then that's actually part of the problem, is that you can't recognize when you're just being a dick. I am perfectly willing to understand if I was being a dick to Greg or to you, and it was uncalled for or just out of the blue, I could accept it. It doesn't sound like you can there.
Okay. Well, I guess it doesn't sound like I can.
It sounds like you guys are gaslighting each other.
Probably.
Can I just say, guys, really, I don't want the podcast, my decision to not want to do it is really not about feeling you guys making me feel bad. It's just not that fun. There's many episodes where nobody insults me. It's just
Right.
like we have those podcasts with the shitty guests. Even when we don't have the shitty guests, it's better, but I don't know. It just ran out of steam.
Here, I have a question for you, Greg.
Yeah.
Like the last few podcasts that we did, not the last one, but like say the 2 or 3 or 4 before that. Now, at the end of it, I felt pretty good about it. I'm being honest. I think Matt did as well. Like, oh, you know what? That kind of came together better than ones have in the past. I did feel like things were actually improving. This is my quandary. So, but despite that, and you said at the end of them, and Matt is my witness, you said, you know what, that was the best podcast ever.
Yeah.
So either that was complete horseshit, or
No, it was a good podcast. It was fun.
okay, right.
But I probably would have rather just read comics or did karaoke in my kitchen or something.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying? It's like you're saying, yeah, it's gotten really bad and it's not fun anymore. But I feel like, I mean, I can tell you, I don't think Matt and I have had any kind of like argument like that in at least a year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while, right?
There's no argument here. This is all perfectly pleasant.
Yes.
So, but
No,
anyway,
right.
my point is, I was like, whoa, this is weird. It feels like it's getting better. It seems like it. You were saying it was better, and then to hear it was 100% the opposite of what I thought. I think you're trying to gaslight Matt and I.
No, I admit, like when I say best episode ever, which Maddie's even pointed out, it's like you always say that, or you say it a lot. And there's certain episodes where we tell better jokes. We're like more like bantering in a funnier way.
I agree.
Sometimes we don't have the good material, and we're just kind of like,
Sure.
yeah, that's what you said. Okay. But sometimes we're pretty funny. And so, I mean, that's better.
Yeah, I thought one of the things that we have improved on over the last year or so is that when I remember when we first started it, the biggest problem was we kept talking over each other, and we didn't we didn't have like the rhythm in place. That's gotten much better.
Yeah.
As just one thing.
I don't think that Greg has the attention, and pardon me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, in terms of making the show better wasn't really something he was interested in.
I wanted to be funnier. And I was always trying to be as funny as I could.
Right, but you're saying you wanted to be funnier.
I want all of us to be funnier. Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the case though, but were you willing to try and make us funnier?
Well, yeah, sometimes I think Matt's gonna say something funny. I'm gonna back off. You know what I mean? I was trying to think of that, but also I'm not.
No, I meant in terms of like not during the podcast, like outside of the podcast, like have a discussion about what we could do to be funnier, to make it something you'd be more interested in.
It's not something you can talk about. Funny is just like, I don't know. It's like what.
Well, I mean, part of funny is preparation,
I guess, but some people are just funny on podcasts. They're just funny. It's not like they're quick.
I can tell you honestly, Greg. No. Trying to come after you here. I can tell you honestly that I didn't put as much effort into it because I didn't feel like you wanted to. And I didn't feel like trying to force you to do something. And I thought the three of us were just having fun anyway, so that was fine. But I would have driven us harder had I thought that you primarily would have come along. I felt like Matt would have within reason, because like even when I moved up here, remember we were talking about, oh, how could we set up like a studio or something where we're not doing it over Zoom and we could get we talked about that. And I remember, Greg, you were really opposed to
No, I did not want to do that because that would have made it even harder, more of a chore.
Right.
To actually like take a bus somewhere. And
I think Matt said he'd pick you up, but whatever. I'm not trying to gaslight you, but
no, I know you're right. It's not like I'm denying it. I did not want to do that because then it would be even more of a chore. Like, I have to leave my house. I just got home.
Right.
Oh yeah, he was absolutely adamant. But by the way, Happy Hour News Team has responded on YouTube.
Aww.
They said, and thanks, Matt, for forcing yourself to listen to our show. So we listen because we're genuinely interested in what you guys have to say. Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you. And I didn't mean it in terms of like forcing myself to listen to you. It's just that I realized I hadn't in a while, so I wanted to make sure that I did listen to you guys. So I don't want you to take that the wrong way. But anyway, so I remember when we had the conversation about doing us all in the same place, and Greg was absolutely refusing. Yeah. And that was really where I really got the idea. I'm like, this isn't going to go any further. I knew right at that moment.
I don't think
that we were doomed from that moment on.
I don't think this Zoom thing is holding us back. I listen to podcasts. I can hear everyone talk. It's not like, oh God, this quality is.
Well, no, the fact is our sound quality is kind of shitty.
Yeah, and the video quality is not the best. I mean, it gets better, but it could be so much better if it was better lit and in different locations. And if you
I don't know.
Well, no, the fact is that your sound is different than my sound and different than Greg's and different than Brendan's sound.
Right.
And it's not good because there's like different, especially since podcasting is really an audio platform.
Right.
You really kind of have to really dial in the audio to get people to keep listening. And I've read so many different things on Reddit and Facebook where people talk about podcasts, and like the thing that turns them off the most is the difference in sound quality of different hosts, for that matter. Different podcasts. I mean, people just turn off immediately because they don't like the sound.
Right. And you will listen to a podcast you're not even that super interested in just because it is so well engineered. Like I listened to this podcast called Here Be Monsters or something, I think. And it was a piece of art in terms of the sound. There wasn't any YouTube channel. It was just all audio. And he had layers of sounds and he was walking and you could hear his footsteps. And it was almost ASMR kind of like in podcasts, as Matt is saying, they're an audio thing. And if you're not famous, so people are like, oh, that's a famous comedian I've heard of. You're just a bunch of three knuckleheads, then, you got to do something to be different.
I'm just saying with my bad hearing, I've listened to the podcast, almost everyone, and I've never been like, oh, I can't hear.
Okay, so think about the first 4 words you just used in that sentence.
I am curious, Orange.
No, with my bad hearing.
That's what I'm saying. With my bad hearing, I could still hear everyone clearly.
No one is.
But what I'm saying is because you're bad hearing, you're missing like the nuance of the sound overall quality that's different between each of us. In other words, you don't hear the graininess in your sound. You're not hearing the muffled sounds that come from Brendan, right?
Right.
As long as I can hear what they're saying, I don't care.
But that's your standard.
I guess.
Different people have to, and I'm saying this is based upon all of the reading that I've done in terms of people who like listen to podcasts, what they appreciate more.
They want like pristine sound. Like
they don't want to hear Zoom sound.
Yeah,
They
I
want
mean,
Donald Fagan, not
Think-
Yeah,
think-
because if the
think of-
dollops sounded like they were on Zoom, you probably wouldn't be as interested in them.
no, I would. They're pretty funny.
Maybe. I mean, but if you found others that
As long as
sound
I could hear their voices. As long as it wasn't quiet.
Okay,
Sometimes
okay.
they're quiet.
So
Yeah.
with the dollop being an outlier, more often than not, if you're listening to a podcast without any sort of visual on it, and it isn't dialed into some specific like interest you have, like growing walnuts or something, and so it's like the only growing walnuts podcast there is, and so you'll listen to it no matter how bad it is. But we're doing old white guys doing kind of half-baked commentary and stand-up jokes. There's a lot of competition in that category, and we're not that
never
good. And we're
seen
not
one.
well.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's why I thought
You've never watched the Joe Rogan show. You've never watched Tom Segura's, Bill Burr.
But they're almost like kind of professional. Like they like.
I understand.
They don't just like ramble like real people do. So I thought
no. I mean, Joe Rogan has interviews, but when he's there with like a couple of his lunkhead LA comic friends, it sounds a lot like this. It's just,
funnier.
But yeah, it can be, not always, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying that we've not differentiated ourselves in a niche that has a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, what made us a little bit different is the fact that, for one thing, we have Waspy Soda Pop. That makes us a little bit different.
I mean, but that didn't
not that it's a good thing, but it's a different thing.
It is different.
We have, the legal questions for you. That was different. Not necessarily a good thing, but it's a different thing. And the fact is that if we had prepared these segments and given them more time and more attention and made them more professional, we would have gotten more viewers probably. If we had promoted it properly, if we'd taken those things, put them out into YouTube Shorts or Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels and done all of those different things, we would have brought in more people. If I had taken more time and put those onto TikTok, we would have gotten more people there too. But that just didn't get done because it never seemed like you were really interested in this being successful.
I want it to be successful.
No, but you didn't show that you were interested in it being successful. It was more you were like, I'm not really happy.
Well, yeah, it's just something to do to pass time. It's fun.
Right, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
I'm saying is that you weren't looking at it that way. I was hoping for it to be something like that, and then maybe it would take off. It was just that, I was a little deflated once I had that realization, So I'm like, I'll just have some fun with it, So I started doing stuff to the sponsors for visually, There's not much you can really do auditorially in the same way, for the podcast platforms.
That probably helped a lot with the YouTube channel.
Well, there's mistakes I made with the YouTube channel, which I think prevented us from really taking off better. I messed with the YouTube algorithm, and I think that screwed us a couple of different ways. But again, that's just something that.
And you showed my face.
No, there's a
people
lot.
Are like,
there's a lot of
this guy.
There's a lot of ugly people on the internet, Greg. So
there's a lot of ugly people,
but none as ugly as me.
But I'm just saying that it wasn't at your face, or but there was, So I was going through everything I was going through, and I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And then when I was coming out, that's what I was saying. I was like, okay, well, now I have the time. Then it was kind of like, you know what? Let's just keep doing what we're doing. And I'm like, which mostly came from you, Greg, and that's okay, because it's okay that you're like, you know what? This is a chore. I'd rather read comic books. That's a very honest answer, and I'll accept it.
Yes. It shall be accepted. And by the way, Brandon, I just want to fucking say I fucking apologize for yelling at you.
It's okay.
Fucking apologize.
It's okay.
Because I don't know that I was deliberately being a dick or an asshole to Greg, but if it comes across that way, well, that's
quibbly.
That's part of my use.
You're being quibbly, I would say.
It's part of my usefulness.
Yeah, it was just getting to be more than I could take.
Thank you for your belly there, Greg.
Given the content of the show and what we're talking about, I just thought it was, for one more around the bend with you and me and defending Greg and him being sad and you bullying him, I thought it seemed like the thing to do.
I think Greg is in the bathroom right now because he got up. We got to see the stains on his sweatshirt. Then he turned it off, and now he's like positioning it in the bathroom. So I think he's listening to us right now.
Well, you didn't do waspy soda pop, so I had no time to pee.
Yeah, well, there's no waspy soda pop. You see, I had a whole plan. I had a whole plan for like ending things off by December,
Yeah.
But so instead, it's just all going to be very abrupt, and it would have just been mainly for my entertainment anyway. So that's why it's easy for this to end, because I realized that most of it was just for my entertainment and not necessarily for the greater good of the universe. So
the greater good of the universe is a big reach, but I just think that sometimes things just they just don't work out. It's been sort of the story of 2022. No matter how hard you try, no matter how many steps you take, how many grids you make, how many different ways of calculating the points of love expressed and not expressed, and no matter how much you give to that, sometimes it just doesn't work.
That's true. And I just realized that this makes me sadder because this will be your second divorce in 1 year.
It's true. It's been, like I said, it's been a rough 30 days for me, but I was kind of like, well, maybe this is, whatever, this is what it's meant to be,
Well, it is, from the ashes, perhaps a phoenix will. Greg, did you pee on your chest? There's like a big wet spot in the middle of your chest, which wasn't there when you went to the bathroom.
No, it's pudding.
So what have you done to yourself?
Do I have to pay Brendan alimony?
I think you might have to. You're going to have to pay him like some kind of special Gregimony.
From what I can tell. Yeah, from what I can tell, no. Bye.
Don't mind us, Greg. Just walk away. What just happened?
I don't know.
I thought he was having a conversation.
I'm right here. I was listening. I could hear you.
Okay. So anyway, no, I don't think you owe me alimony. If this is an ask Brendan question, no, you don't owe me alimony. We weren't together.
Alimony. You make way more money than I do.
I know, but we weren't together long enough. We never signed any documents. I mean, I stayed at your place for a week and a half.
It's common law.
But then you kicked your crazy girlfriend kicked me out. I know. So literally, I was the one thrown out. So I think that I shouldn't owe you anything. You kicked me out.
Well, you were bringing disease into my home.
Disease.
Yeah, that's right.
You were like a mongrel. You were like a flea-bitten mongrel in my house.
He was like an old house cat that you drug in.
Typhoid Brendan.
Brendan, yes. Typhoid Larry.
So sad. But I think before we go, though, we should at least get this out of the way.
Should we? Really?
I think. Well, I mean, not that it's gonna.
He has an opinion, may not always be right. He's a real fake lawyer. He's old and he's white. Ask him a question, 'cause he's a good egg for bogus advice. Ask Greg. Ask Greg. Ask Greg.
That's the last time I'll ever hear that song.
Well, I may have it queued up for the future if you ever want to hear it in general.
So I know. It was my favorite part of the podcast.
Lavana Bracci, everyone.
So yes. So Greg, well, I have a legal question for you. What is your liability to all of the podcast listeners over the years that we've been doing this? What's the amount of restitution you should be paying them for causing this to all end?
The 8 people that have listened to us.
I think it's 12.
I think they owe me restitution for all the entertainment I've given them for free. Does that sound egotistical?
So they owe you?
Yes.
Like reparations?
Yes, like I have given.
So they abused you, and so you deserve money from that.
Not they abused me, but they have definitely, without any
they took advantage of you.
Without any remuneration, they have fed off of my my wit and my candor and my insight.
Greg, the fatted calf, is what you're saying.
Yes, I don't think they have. They owe me a little money.
Okay.
More than a pizza too.
Oh, I was going to say, so like one more pizza?
Well, that would be nice. That would be a start. But really, with how much laughs and thoughtful comments I've given them over the past 2.5 years, I've been there for them through COVID, through the end of many TV shows on Netflix. I'm like Patton. I'm George C. Scott Patton.
Greg Pettix, 2024. Come and get me, Trump.
I'm announcing my candidacy.
You owe me.
America owes me.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to give me your votes because
I've given them myself.
You owe me.
Even though apparently I could have given a lot more, but I gave some part of myself.
You gave your liver, is what you gave.
No, I would have done that anyway. My liver was already gone.
But at least this way, it was like something you were presenting for the world to see and to experience was your liver.
Yeah, but that was a draw of the show. People are like, nobody's ever been this drunk doing a podcast.
I like how you always say this is the draw of the show with no evidence to say that this was the draw of the show.
I just figure people like to sing freaks. They like seeing freaks. And what podcast has a guy who's so drunk he can't even pronounce words? That must have been some novelty to some people.
I don't know.
Drunk history?
Oh yeah.
Just
look how popular that was. See?
Was that a podcast?
Thank you.
It was like a web show, and then it turned into a TV show, right?
Yeah, it was a web show. It was a YouTube thing, and then it went. But it could have worked as a podcast. But again, it was also really well produced, and then they got celebrities in.
Yeah.
But the people, I loved it because it was good. But they were way drunker than you've ever been on any episode.
But they were really smart people.
Although last week Greg was pretty drunk.
That was about as close as he's come to some of these people. Like I've seen episodes where they're like literally falling out of the
Oh yeah, where they puked on the show.
Yes, yeah. No, those people are really.
There was a puke on that show?
I think so.
I think so. Oh my god.
They fell over.
Or is that
I don't know. I think it ended a couple of years ago. I used to watch it pretty religiously, but I haven't seen it in a while. I haven't heard about it.
It was a great show.
Well,
I think there's episodes on Hulu.
They had really renowned historians who, even though they were that drunk, they were still giving you some information. Like, even though they were...
I don't know that they had renowned historians. I think they had people who read history on Wikipedia and recounted it.
No, it was always like professors.
No, they were legit professors. I mean, renowned. We can
writers.
They were.
I don't remember professors being on that show.
Always were. They were like
they were something.
Historians.
They weren't just
they were like actors and Hollywood types generally.
No, the person narrating it was not that person. They would then the video would be like Jack Black walking, and Jack Black is talking, but the person narrating.
No, I'm talking about the people narrating because I remember looking the people up who were narrating because I was wondering who they were.
I think you should be.
I don't remember professors. Is all I'm saying.
I think that was the whole shtick, Matt. They would get these real historians to do this.
These weren't just some bimbo in Hollywood.
You guys have a different memory of that show than I do. I think I'm being gaslighted right now.
You probably are, but you should check it out on YouTube and prove
gaslight in your face, Matt.
Because that's how I remember it.
I don't remember I mean, maybe that was in the very early days, but I don't think that continued.
I mean, let's not hung up on the word professor, but they certainly weren't comedians and actresses or something.
Some were TV writers. I remember that, and some were like comic writers.
I remember one very distinctly because she was kind of a cute girl, and she was probably in her 30s, and she was definitely a professor of something somewhere.
Professor of media arts,
professor of drunk history,
college.
All right. Anyway.
All right. Well, what else do we want to do? How do we want to wrap up this final show? Because we're already like an hour and a half in.
I don't want to do a last word. That's what I'm sure I don't. I think Greg.
You don't have to do a last word, but we should at least play the thing one final time.
I think
just for the sake of playing it.
Because many times, this is what I'd like to do. I would
because you would get argued with, and it was never the last word.
I know, so that's what I'm saying. I would like to. I forget the exact Robert rules. I would like to give my time to the gentleman from Southeast, and he can have the last word.
I don't want the last word.
No, too bad. You got it.
This is the last word with Brendan Haggerty.
I just thought we should play it. We don't have to do it. We just, have it gone one final time.
Could you maybe, since it's the last episode, could you explain why you did it backwards in nonsense words?
There was no real purpose behind it other than to just have something unusual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I made the joke because it does sound like no talent simp a little bit. I knew that Matt was not smart enough to know that if he played what he said one way backwards, it would sort of give you that impression. I mean, that's like evil genius level.
Yeah, like Black Sabbath, Satan is our master, whatever.
Right.
Or Kiss.
I mean, Matt's smart, but that's evil genius. That's a different.
Yeah,
thing.
no, I just reversed it for the sake of having it sound different. Be something slightly amusing. It's all about slight amusement. This particular podcast is like,
yes.
What could somebody get? Not a chortle, not a guffaw, but a titter. I would go for the titters mainly for this podcast more than anything else.
Maybe that's your new podcast, Matt.
A titter.
Titters.
Quibble,
It'll be bought out by Elon Musk.
Quibble, squabble, and titter. Like, we should call it that.
Titters and tee-hees. The podcast that's just slightly amusing.
Right. Well, I would guarantee 2 laughs per episode is what I would do in the early days of doing this. So it's like people would get 2 laughs or they get their money back, They don't get their 2 laughs. We usually got the 1 laugh off the name of the podcast, and then the other laugh hopefully would come along with something Greg would say.
And then they get their pizza back. Send them a pizza.
No one ever gave us a pizza, Greg.
But slowly we earned it from them for pennies. And
we got $50 from Anchor. And the pizza cost more than $50.
Yeah.
So
let's
just say, Greg, that you never had to spend any money on the podcast.
You should have just went Domino's. You could have gotten double the amount of pizzas for $50.
I was always willing to invest in things throughout the course of this. I mean,
yeah.
We have a website, Greg. I don't know if you know that. But it didn't just pop up for free anywhere, so that's covered. And
that costs money to make a website?
To host one, yeah,
No, I didn't know that.
I sure hope so.
Yeah,
I'm in the wrong business.
So anyway, I'll keep the website going until the domain is up for re-registering, and then I'll just shut it down. I'll shut down the website then, and I'm going to shut down the Patreon page. And, the YouTube channel can go forever. I know exactly.
We had a Patreon page?
We've always had a Patreon page,
I thought
Greg.
for years.
We just never added anything to it because you were never willing to put stuff onto Patreon,
I said
Greg.
We should have put the videos of our
I kept asking you to learn about Patreon so you could be over that, but you never were willing to do it.
I don't know how to do Patreon. I don't know how to.
That was my point, was so that you could learn to do it.
But we were on Patreon. I thought you said for why you didn't know how to get on it, or
no, I knew we had a membership from the beginning. I just didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't take the time.
Does Greg know about the OnlyFans thing that I was doing for the podcast? Did we talk about that?
I have a lot of still photos of his feet, Greg.
Oh.
I was actually one of the guys tipping you, Brendan, all that whole time.
Oh, okay.
I was butt plug 69. That was me.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
I thought there was a certain familiarity there that I wasn't quite familiar with.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Like, who actually was it? So there's that. What else am I going to be doing to just end things off? So yeah, Patreon, I'll just shut that down because that's been kind of pointless. I'll shut the UHive channel down because that's definitely pointless.
Right-wing site or something?
No, that was a crypto social media place that nobody could figure out what to do with. But which I put money into the thing, and I'm hoping one day maybe it'll be popular and I'll get that money back. We shall see.
I think a lot of people thought that about the metaverse too. So we'll see how that works out.
Well, they're putting ads out, trying to get people involved. What else? So the website will be shut down probably within about 6 months or so. The YouTube channel will just, go into receivership, I suppose. That'll never
be there
die.
forever.
Yeah, it'll be there forever for people to if they
Long
want to
after
do
we're
it.
dead.
I think what I'll probably do is occasionally I'll take old episodes and things and make them into like special videos here and there and just upload them to the channel every once in a while just for shits and giggles, you know.
Sure.
So that's kind of a down the
That
road
makes me
type plan.
sad.
What's that?
That makes me sad.
What makes you sad?
Just putting out videos, cannibalized videos.
Well, I mean, it's like anybody else has done with old shows and things of the past. They just
I
I
guess.
still want to do the supercut of you doing this with your mouth. That thing. I want like a
People-
10-minute video of you doing
We
that.
should have done that for Patreon. We would have had a lot of money.
Yes.
This or OnlyFans.
I always
A lot of
loved
people
your
would get into that.
Patreon suggestions, but anyway,
People would OnlyFans.
I never created an
There's probably
OnlyFans
someone
channel
who'd
though.
be into that. Be like, "Ooh, that's hot."
No, it was mostly the OnlyFans was mostly feet, and the inner part of your knee for some reason, like the not the front
That's the
part, but the
OnlyFans
back part, like with the
Yeah.
tendons. Yeah, I don't know why that was a thing, but
That's kind of hot, actually.
it was a niche, whatever you want to say. And
Wasn't
yeah,
that Paris Hilton's catchphrase, Greg, the one you just used?
Niche.
No, that is kind of hot.
It's not just a common.
Paris
Okay.
Greg Hilton. I don't know. I thought it was like her catchphrase. But
I
anyway,
didn't know that.
I didn't know you were related to her.
I
Or we're
didn't know
dating
she had
her.
I didn't know she had a catchphrase other than
It was something that
What?
came from like the
Somebody took a
the
picture of
reality
my-
show she was on. So
Her catchphrase was "I'm a dumb cunt." Wasn't that her catchphrase?
that should have been it.
Isn't
but I
that
don't
what she
think it
always
was.
say?
this could be the opportunity to get everything off our chests since it's the final episode and see if YouTube will actually ban us or not for the last episode.
Should I talk about the Zionist conspiracy?
Let's talk. Can
You
we
know,
talk
just
Kanye
if we're going to
West?
go into that, if we're going to talk about that, just talk about how Trump just recently got like the highest honor possible from the Zionists or of America.
What? After
Yeah,
he said that
he-
stuff? Are you
He
kidding?
just got some big award.
So the Zionists are saying, keep talking shit about us.
No, Zionists are like totally way to
That's
go,
what I'm
Trump.
saying. Didn't he just
No,
say
they're
something?
not talking about Kanye. They're talking about Trump.
I know, but I thought Trump said an anti-Semitic thing in the past few weeks. There was a controversy.
No, that
No.
was
He said
Kanye
something
West
about the
did.
Jews. No, I know he
No.
did too.
That was
I heard Trump
Kanye.
did.
No, Trump would have said something positive because he needs that fan base.
Yeah,
So.
and he's always been big on protection of the Israel state and
Yeah,
through everybody else. I mean,
Yeah.
that's your standard Republican
Yeah, exactly.
take.
yeah, it's
so-
to keep the evangelicals in line because they're very pro-Israel.
right, because the end of the world needs to happen, and it's got to happen there. So we got to stoke that fire so Jesus. will
I know,
come.
but the weird thing is like in the Revelations, eventually everyone turns against Israel. So they're gonna whatever Republican's gonna say, now's the time. All of a sudden, we're gonna hate Israel because that's what Revelations tells us to do. We must
Oh.
destroy.
Well, we're all about fulfilling prophecy here.
Well, they
You
are.
know,
No, we're not.
No, we are, Greg. You and I specifically.
I'm all about prophecy.
And Brendan
Was-
too.
Was this our prophecy to end the show?
Nostradamus predicted this was going to be the final episode.
Yes.
It's one of the last stages before the Four Horsemen. And there ended the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker.
That
And
was
then
that
the
was one
plague
of
of
the
frogs.
that was one of John's fever dreams.
The serpent rised out of the Columbia River and devoured the bridge.
And 10 cities will arise in a city by the river.
No, that's where the true Antichrist is. He's in.
I
a
thought you were
tent
going to talk
city
about
right
Ted
now.
Nugent again.
No.
And Ted
we-
Nugent shall do a wango tango upon the world, upon the land. And the
All right,
cities
guys.
will feel intensities. 10
Let's-
cities will feel intensities.
We shall not drag this on any further. Do you have any final words to your myriad of fans out there?
What a long, strange trip it's been.
Anything profound that you want to get off your chest or anything you want to communicate to anybody who's been watching this? Because we have had steady viewership. It's very small, but steady viewership, and listenership along the way. So there have been people who have paid attention, So communicate to your fans, guys. What would you like to say to them?
Our most loyal listener is my my brother-in-law, Ray, who I still consider my brother-in-law, even though my sister divorced him.
So what do you want to say to Ray?
I want to say, Ray, I'm sorry. I hope you find another podcast to fill your life with joy. And I know it's kind of sudden, but I hope you find there's better podcasts out there, Ray. Trust me.
Like The Dollop.
Yeah.
And Word Bubbles. And those are the only two we're going to find out about.
Word Bubbles. Balloons is actually terrible, but the guy's a fucking moron, but he always has great guests on, so I get to hear them talk. And all his questions are idiotic. He's like, shut the fuck up.
So I guess my last words would be, Ray, if you're listening, I get it. I'm assuming that this happened recently, or maybe it's been a long time, but
it's been a few years ago.
2 years. Hey, I'm always looking for somebody to talk to, going through it myself. So I can turn you on to some other podcasts. I'm probably better than your ex-brother-in-law. Number two, hey, Happy Hour News team, I'm there for you on Thursday nights. I mean, most nights I'm just sitting here listening to stuff on YouTube anyway. So I'll be tuning in. And if you need any sort of homeless camp reporting, I'm close. It's only a few steps away.
So you're going to
satellite office.
You're going to force yourself to listen to Happy Hour News Team every Thursday.
I literally, dude. When I was I was flying out here. It was a Thursday. I almost missed my flight because I had pulled out my laptop. I think it was at the Denver airport. And I was like interacting with them because it was their Thursday night. That's when their show is live. And I'm interacting, and all of a sudden I looked up and I'm like, fuck. And I had to go, and I get there, and the lady was just she's like, are you Brendan Haggerty? I'm like, yes. And she's like, well, you better get your ass on the plane. And I was like, okay.
Were they paging you for like an hour, like saying Brendan Haggerty, please?
Yeah, but I had my headphones on because I was listening to the show. So yeah, she's like, we've been paging you, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't. You want to slap me? I'm sorry. Can I get on the plane? I gotta go. I'm having a rough day. Let me tell you. So anyway,
so everyone who listens to our show and might be sad we're leaving, listen to Happy Hour News Team. They're still going.
Yes, and they will have more exciting episodes as they get more and more snowed in North Dakota. Because this is going to be prime listening time to the Happy Hour News Team because they can't go out hunting in this time of year unless they're hunting for snow wolves.
It's about to get weird in North Dakota, I'm sure.
Yes. All right. So what do I have to say to everybody listening? Thank you very much for this very interesting journey that has happened for the last nearly 2.5 years. I'm sorry it has ended this way, but you fuckers have never really engaged with us anyway. So if you really wanted things to last longer, you could have sent messages to our website. You could have emailed me. You could have watched the live stream on YouTube every week and commented. You didn't, most of you. The ones who did, we appreciate you the most. And that's why we mentioned Happy Hour News Team the most, because they were the most giving and caring of all of our listeners and viewers, regardless of Greg's siblings. And the fact is that we do appreciate everybody who did listen. We're still surprised the fact that there were more than 2 out there who did. We may do episodes in the future. We'll still be having an account on Anchor, so it'll still get published through an RSS feed. Like I said, I may still do specialized YouTube videos. If anybody's interested in ones to do, let me know. The email, as it's always been, is qsblawoffices@gmail.com. That's qsblawoffices@gmail.com. The website.
Can continue not to send us emails, even though the show's.
That is correct. I want to thank all of the people from a couple of years ago in the Far East and in third world countries that put all the fake reviews on for us and made us in the top 2% of podcasts in the world. So I appreciate those folks who were hired to say things about us that even though they had never listened to our podcast.
Gibberish.
So thank you guys for that. That made for a couple of really fun episodes of the show. I want to thank Greg and Brendan very, very much for putting up with me through this entire time, because I know I can be a little bit of a dick and an asshole on occasion. and refuse to take ownership for any of that. So fuck them both. And so, but either way, I still thank them for having been here. I want to thank my wife for being in the other room every time I did this episode while she only heard what I had to say, and God knows what was going through her head with a lot of that. I want to thank TikTok for banning us a couple of times because that made a couple of interesting episodes. I want to thank all of our guests that we've ever had, regardless of Brendan and Greg's horrible, horrible rudeness towards you if you weren't what they were, their cup of tea. I appreciated you at the very least.
We were only rude after they left.
I want to thank the publicists who gave us guests, who gave us people to talk to. Really appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Perhaps that relationship could be started again some other way in the future. I'm not sure. I have no idea what the future holds for any of us. I know that Greg will never be doing this again. Brendan will. Say that.
I said every few months, if you feel like it, we'll do one. We'll bring back the band. Get the band back together.
It'll be all on your shoulders, Greg. It's entirely up to you because you were the one who wanted to end. So
yeah. But they're just
it'll be up to you. It'll be totally up to your mood to determine if.
Yeah, I'll say if you guys feel like doing one.
Yeah. And you'll be responsible for the sponsor, and you'll be responsible for a guest as well. And you'll be responsible for actually producing it and editing it afterwards and for putting it onto YouTube.
Oh, I can't do that. So I guess you will never hear us again. That's the end of the show. This is the last one.
Anyway, Greg, you quit so easily. It's just sad. You're like unwilling to learn.
It's easy.
Unwilling to learn things. Anyway, regardless, I want to thank everybody again very much for having listened to us all this time. And that is the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. We're signing out.
Goodbye, my friends. Forever.
Stay squabbly. The world needs more squabbly.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblawoffices.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!